Hello everyone, my name is Michael from Able Idioms. Our motto is master your idioms and master your English. You can find us at ableidioms.com and social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I imagine most of you have seen us on Instagram. That seems to be our biggest following. We love apples. Today we're going to do a full idiom lesson about just one idiom. But first, I think we should review the definition. What the heck is an idiom? I hear this word all the time, but it sounds kind of strange. What does it mean? If we go to Wikipedia, Wikipedia says an idiom is a common word or phrase which means something different from its literal meaning, but can be understood because of their popular use. Thank you, Wikipedia. At Able Idioms, we have a slightly different definition, but it's very similar. We tried to make it very simple and easy to understand. So here's our definition. An idiom is a group of words with a hidden meaning, which is understood because native speakers use it all the time. Okay, so we've covered the definition of an idiom, and I'm going to tell you what idiom we're going to cover today. It's going to be an arm and a leg. This is one of the most common idioms in the English language. Wherever you go in the English-speaking world, with whoever you speak, that's a native speaker, they're going to understand this idiom. You might be thinking, well, I already understand this idiom. I would urge you to stick around because we do our lessons a little bit different. So we'll be studying an arm and a leg, and we'll be doing it in 6 parts. All parts will have to do with an arm and a leg. The first part will be conversation, so you can see this idiom in action. Next part will be pronunciation. We'll practice together and make sure you're saying it correctly. Then we'll do the definition, where you can find out, what the heck does it mean? We'll do usage. I'll give you some tips and strategies on how to use this idiom. Then we'll do practice. Great! We need to get some practice using this idiom. Then we'll review, make sure we know what we're talking about. So, what do you think? 6 parts? This is going to be all about the idiom, an arm and a leg. I think we should get started. All right, so an arm and a leg. Let's do conversation. Follow along with me. Fred, that meal was incredible. Thanks for paying. Tom, it was delicious, but it cost an arm and a leg. Fred, don't worry, it's only money. Tom, if you had to pay, you would think it cost an arm and a leg too. So here's a conversation. Are you getting a good idea for what it means if the idiom an arm and a leg? Well, I think we could look at another conversation. Great. Sarah, your birthday gift cost an arm and a leg. Henry, I hope it's better than what you got me last year. Sarah, what? I spent an arm and a leg on that gift too. Henry, oh, it was the best gift ever. All right, so we did conversation. Ding, ding. Let's do pronunciation of the idiom an arm and a leg. We're going to do 3 speeds: turtle speed, rabbit speed, and bird speed. Each time I would ask you to repeat after me. Wherever you are in the world, repeat after me and improve your pronunciation. So here we go with turtle speed. An arm and a leg. Okay, one more time. Make sure to repeat out loud after me. An arm and a leg. You might notice that the A, I'm not saying A, I'm saying And I would like to have a great definition as to why it's that way. But native speakers, we kind of do we do what we want and how we've been raised to speak. And sometimes we'll say a, but here I would say It just flows nice. And you'll see once we get to bird speed that it just sounds better, in my opinion, to just say And it's very common for Americans to do this. Okay, let's get to rabbit speed. Ready? Repeat after me. An arm and a leg. An arm and a leg. All right, and now regular speed, bird speed. Repeat after me. An arm and a leg. And last time, an arm and a leg. All right, so we just did pronunciation. Woo! Let's move to the next part, which is definition. Maybe one of the most important sections. So, an arm and a leg has a literal meaning. In other words, a basic meaning. If you took each word and you separated it apart and you looked it up in the dictionary, this would be the basic meaning. And it's an arm and a leg. So this is the basic meaning. It's two body parts, right? My arm and my leg. But an arm and a leg also has what's called a figurative meaning. Why don't we say that word? Repeat after me. Figurative. And it's just a fancy way to say a hidden meaning. It's like an extra meaning that is not obvious when you read the words. So you may already know what it means, but here we go. An arm and a leg means a lot of money. And the idea is that if something costs so much and you have to pay so much money, you feel like, wow, I'm giving so much of myself to pay for it. So somewhere along the line, someone said, wow, it's like giving my arm and giving my leg to pay for that. So here we have the idiom, an arm and a leg. So an arm and a leg means a lot of money. When we learn idioms, I think it's wonderful to learn similar and opposite expressions. This helps us just build more vocabulary and also understand other ways to say the same thing. So first, let's do the similar ones. I'm going to show them to you in a moment. I will say each one and then pause. And I urge you, repeat after me and improve your pronunciation. Here we go. Super expensive. An insane amount. Way too much. And you might notice I'm putting a little bit extra emotion in my voice. And I think it makes sense. If you get a bill at a restaurant and suddenly the price is, holy cow, it's something you weren't expecting, you probably wouldn't say, this bill is super expensive. You would say, wow, this is super expensive. You'd probably have some emotion. It cost an arm and a leg. So those were similar expressions. Let's do opposite expressions as well. Repeat after me. Almost nothing. A great bargain. Dirt cheap. Okay, I tried to put some emotion in my voice as well, but this time it would be kind of surprised emotion because, wow, we thought maybe it was going to cost more, but it's almost nothing. It hardly cost anything at all. It was a great deal. So, these have been expressions similar and opposite to an arm and a leg. Let's go back to our original conversations. So, I'm going to repeat again. Follow along. Fred, that meal was incredible. Thanks for paying. Tom, it was delicious, but it cost an arm and a leg. Fred, don't worry, it's only money. Tom, if you had to pay, you would think it cost an arm and a leg too. So let's use what we just learned and we're going to swap out the expressions. So, instead of saying an arm and a leg, Tom could say, it was delicious, but it was super expensive. And instead of saying, if you had to pay, you would think it costs an arm and a leg too. Tom could say, if you had to pay, you would think it cost way too much too. So these are other ways that we just learned to say an arm and a leg. A very similar meaning. You might notice as well here when we're having an arm and a leg, it's very common to use the verb cost, to cost something, because we're talking about money, right? So an arm and a leg is a huge amount of money, more than we were expecting, and an amount of money that we don't like. So we can use the verb cost with it. It just makes sense. Let's do our second conversation. So Sarah says, your birthday gift cost an arm and a leg. Henry, I hope it's better than what you got me last year. Sarah, what? I spent an arm and a leg on that gift too. Henry, it was the best gift ever. So instead of saying your birthday gift cost an arm and a leg, Sarah could say, your birthday gift cost an insane amount. And whether she says an arm and a leg or an insane amount, Henry's going to understand that to Sarah, she spent a lot of money. Sarah, instead of saying, what? I spent an arm and a leg on that gift too, Sarah could say, what? I spent a lot of money on that gift too. So all of these different ways to say an arm and a leg have a very similar meaning. So let's move forward. Okay, so we just covered the definition, and hopefully it's crystal clear what the idiom an arm and a leg means. Let's move forward. Here we go. Let's do usage. All right, let's get some ideas and different ways to use this idiom. First, I'm going to give you some tips. These are some important things about this idiom, this specific idiom. First off, it's a fixed phrase. Okay, so what does that mean? It means we're not going to grab other words and stick them in between. We're only going to use this phrase as it is. It's stuck together, an arm and a leg, which is great because when we move it around or we use it in different parts of the sentence, we know we have to take the whole chunk and move it from one section to another. In this idiom, there's no verb to update. We have an article, a conjunction, and two nouns, right? But there's no verb, so we don't have to worry about conjugating a verb. Also, this idiom will be part of a larger sentence. That means by itself, this idiom is not a sentence. If I walk up to you and say, an arm and a leg, you would be like, okay, what are we talking about? This idiom does not work all by itself. It needs a full sentence, so it's going to be part of a larger sentence. In our examples, you can see an arm and a leg is inside a larger sentence. And it's really common, I know I said this before, but it's really common to use this idiom with the verb cost, to cost. So same with this one, we have the whole sentence, and within the sentence, we have the idiom. The idiom does not function by itself as an independent sentence. It will be within a larger sentence. All right, so let's do this idiom. I'll give you some examples using it in the past, the present, and the future. Wonderful. Here we go. So in the past, you could say, last month, the jacket cost an arm and a leg. In the present, right now, the jacket costs an arm and a leg. And in the future, next year, the jacket will cost an arm and a leg. So, doesn't matter if we're in the past, present, or future, this jacket is freaking expensive. If you notice here, an arm and a leg stays the same in all of the sentences. You don't put any words in between. It's a chunk. It moves around. It's a phrase. It's a group of words that sticks together. However, the verb will change, right? We went from the past, cost. We went to the present, costs. And we went to the future, will cost. So, it's important to update the verb when you use this arm and leg, depending what tense you're in, if you're in the past, present, or the future. All right. We just did some usage, and now we're going to do some practice. All right. And before we get into the practice, we're going to review something that I don't think a lot of people teach when they're studying idioms. So lucky for you! We're going to talk about the 4 different types of sentences in English. What does this have to do with idioms, you might ask? I would say it has everything to do with idioms. We don't learn idioms just to memorize them. We learn idioms to use them. So, okay, we'll get back to an arm and a leg in just a moment, but I'm going to give you an example of all of these different sentences. So first we have the declarative sentence. So repeat after me, declarative. And in this sentence, it's just where we share information. So, for example, let's say we're talking about dogs, and I said, the dog is hungry. You would say, okay, you shared information with me. That's a declarative sentence. I declared something, I shared information. The next part, or the next type of sentence is then the imperative sentence. Let's say the word, repeat after me, imperative. All right. And in this kind of sentence, we give a command or make a request. So if we're talking about dogs, I might say, well, I told you the dog is hungry, so feed the dog. That might be if I'm a little bit upset or I'm just want to be very direct. If I want to be kind and make it more of a request instead of a command, I might say, please feed the dog. All right. The next kind of sentence is the interrogative sentence. Big fancy word which just means question. So repeat after me. Interrogative. I can't guarantee you'll use this word very often unless maybe you're a teacher, but it's good to know. It's great to have a wonderful, huge vocabulary. So an interrogative sentence means to ask a question. So we're talking about the hungry dog, and we might say, why is the dog so hungry? Why is the dog so hungry? Didn't you feed him? Okay, so that's interrogative sentence. It's a question. The last kind of sentence is the exclamatory sentence. Repeat after me. Exclamatory. Another fancy word to mean strong emotion. So in these kinds of sentences, exclamatory sentence will be expressing strong emotion. So we're talking about this dog, right? Maybe we come back and we see that, this dog is super hungry, so we gave him some food and we asked, why is the dog so hungry? Then all of a sudden, the dog is eating my foot. So you probably, if the dog starts eating your foot, you probably wouldn't use a declarative sentence. The dog is eating my foot. It probably hurts like crazy, so you'd use an exclamatory sentence. You'd say, the dog is eating my foot. And exclamatory sentences end with an exclamation point because we want to show emotion. So these are the 4 types of sentences. Let's remember, declarative sentence, share information. Imperative sentence, give a command or make a request. Interrogative sentence, ask a question. Exclamatory sentence, express strong emotion. Here we go. So, here's a picture. Now on the right side you can see we have the idiom, an arm and a leg, and we're going to make a declarative sentence where we share information. And we're going to use this picture. So first off, when I look at this picture, I see a beautiful city at night. Close to the river, the lights are on, and it's just a wonderful panoramic view of the city. So let's use this idiom, an arm and a leg, and this picture, and make a sentence. If we were in a one-on-one lesson, if we were doing this privately, I would be pushing you to make a sentence. Then we would improve it and share how we could use it. But since you guys are listening on YouTube and watching this from who knows where in the world, which is wonderful, thank you for watching, I'm going to make the sentences for you. So follow along. Here we go. So we're going to share information and we're going to use the idiom an arm and a leg. So we might say, I moved to the city and I found out that everything costs an arm and a leg. So this could maybe sound like an exclamatory sentence, but it could just be a phone call that we're having with our parents or our friend who lives somewhere else. You know, I moved to the city and I found out that everything costs an arm and a leg. So we shared information. All right. Let's do one more, and this is a declarative sentence once again where I'm going to share information with you, but I'm going to use an arm and a leg. How about last night I went to a restaurant and they charged me, what? Yes, they charged me an arm and a leg. All right, so we have two sentences, and inside we used the idiom an arm and a leg. So let's have you guys repeat after me. We're going to do the first sentence. Here I go. Repeat out loud after me. I moved to the city and I found out that everything costs an arm and a leg. All right, I hope you repeated after me out loud. This is the second sentence, so I will say it and you repeat after me out loud. Last night, I went to a restaurant and they charged me an arm and a leg. All right, so here we did two examples with the kind of sentence that is declarative, where we shared information. Let's move on to the next type of sentence, and we use the same picture and the same idiom. But this time it's going to be an imperative sentence where we're going to give a command or make a request. So with an arm and a leg, we could say, maybe I'm a greedy business owner and the waiter comes over to me and says, hey, you know, what price should we give? And I say, charge them an arm and a leg. So I'm giving a command or I'm making a strong request. I'm telling my waiter what to do. So I'm going to use this verb and I'm going to say, charge them an arm and a leg. Let's do another one. Let's see. If we're going to give someone a command, charge is a pretty good word to use, pretty good verb to use. Let's see, charge them an arm and a leg. We could do the opposite. Maybe the customer just talked to the waiter and he says, don't charge me an arm and a leg. So they're both giving commands to the other one. The boss said to the waiter, charge them an arm and a leg. And maybe it's a group. So they said, don't charge us an arm and a leg. So they're trying to tell the other side what to do. So it's a command, it's making a request. So let's do the first sentence. Repeat after me. Charge them an arm and a leg. And the second sentence, repeat after me. Don't charge us an arm and a leg. All right, wonderful. Let's move on to an interrogative sentence, which is a fancy way to say ask a question. And we're going to do it using an arm and a leg. So maybe we say, why does everything in this place cost an arm and a leg? So it's an interrogative sentence. We're going to stick a question mark at the end and ask a question. Another one, maybe from the last thing we were talking about, we go up to the owner and we say, why did you charge me an arm and a leg? So we're asking a question, right? We're asking a question, we're trying to get information. So repeat after me. And let's make the idiom bold so we can see where it is in the sentence. So repeat out loud after me. Why does everything in this place cost an arm and a leg? And the second one, repeat out loud, improve your pronunciation. Why did you charge me an arm and a leg? Okay, let's do the last type of sentence, which is an exclamatory sentence. We're going to express strong emotion. And we'll try to use more with the picture this time than I did last time. So let's see. This city is nuts. Everything costs an arm and a leg. Another one, maybe we'll do, I can't believe they charged me an arm and a leg. And we're not going to be saying with low emotion, I can't believe they charged me an arm and a leg. It's going to be much more emotion because it's an exclamatory sentence. So repeat after me. This city is nuts. Everything costs an arm and a leg. I guess if you want to get picky, you can say there are two sentences here, but just one of them uses an arm and a leg. All right, repeat after me. I can't believe they charged me an arm and a leg. And after, it might fit to say, I'm so pissed off because they took all my money. All right. All right, let's go to another picture. We're going to go a little bit quicker this time. An arm and a leg. And what is this picture? I would say we're in a mall somewhere. This could be pretty much any mall in America. And there's an escalator, two escalators, there's 2 floors at least, lots of stores, people walking around, shopping, and the camera, perhaps it's on a tripod sitting right next to the railing and taking a picture of whoever's going by. So we could say a declarative sentence, share information. In this mall, all of the stores charge an arm and a leg. We could also say, she went, let's use a person, huh? Mary went to the mall and realized that everything doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So maybe everybody told her that everything was so expensive, but she went there and she realized, hey, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Let's make these bold. So I'm sharing information, declarative sentence. Repeat after me. In this mall, all of the stores charge an arm and a leg. Second sentence, repeat out loud after me. Mary went to the mall and realized that everything doesn't cost an arm and a leg. All right, let's go to the next type of sentence. Imperative sentence. We're going to give a command. Stop charging everyone an arm and a leg. Maybe we're upset, and every time we go to this store, maybe it's the only store, maybe they have a monopoly on whatever product they're selling, and they charge really high prices when maybe it's not necessary to do so. So we say, stop charging everyone an arm and a leg. All right, another imperative sentence. Don't charge that lady an arm and a leg. She can't afford it. Afford it means she's not, she can't afford it means she's not able to pay for it. All right. So let's make the idioms bold. And, all right, so repeat after me. Stop stop charging everyone an arm and a leg. Remember the second sentence? Don't charge that lady an arm and a leg. She can't afford it. And once again, I guess it's two sentences, but sometimes it's better to have more than one so we can understand the situation. Let's move on to an interrogative sentence. So let's ask a question which would be related to the mall. How is it possible that everything in this place costs what? An arm and a leg. Right. Do you realize that most things here do not cost an arm and a leg? So we have two sentences, interrogative sentences, so we're asking questions. And we're going to make them bold. All right. So repeat after me. How is it possible that everything in this place costs an arm and a leg? In the second sentence, let me fix it. Do you realize that most things here do not cost an arm and a leg? So in the second sentence, later on we might be saying, wow, such a great deal. I really got a discount. It was dirt cheap. Okay. The last type of sentence, exclamatory sentence. And we're going to do it with this picture. Holy cow! Everything costs an arm and a leg. Goodness gracious! I can't believe it all costs an arm and a leg. All right, so the first part, two little sentences, and let's make the idiom bold. You can see where it fits in the sentence. And remember, it's a phrase and it doesn't get broken apart, it just gets moved around. Repeat after me. Holy cow! Everything costs an arm and a leg. If you haven't heard holy cow, it's kind of like, my goodness, you're so surprised, huh? The second one, goodness gracious, I can't believe it all costs an arm and a leg. So goodness gracious and holy cow are very similar. It's like, wow! All right, great work. Let's move forward. So we did an arm and a leg. We did practice. Now let's move on to review. Let's see if we know what we've learned. So I'll be asking you some questions, and then I'll pause and give you time to answer. Or if I don't give you enough time, just pause the video. Here we go. Let's get into it. Question number 1. Once again, I will read the question and I will pause and give you time to answer, okay? Which of the following is a true statement about the idiom an arm and a leg? Here we go. Here are your choices. The first choice is, this idiom must be used as part of a larger sentence. The second choice is, this idiom can be used as a sentence all by itself. So we have two choices, the one on the left, the one on the right. What do you think? Which one is a true statement? I'm going to wait for just a moment. Pause the video if you want me to wait longer. And then I'm going to give you the answer and we'll talk about it. Okay, I'm giving you the answer. Last chance to pause the video if you need more time. Here's the answer in 3, 2, 1. Yes! This idiom must be used as part of a larger sentence. I know we talked about this earlier in the lesson today. An arm and a leg is a group of words, but it's a phrase. It's not a complete sentence. Remember how I said If I walk up to you and I say, an arm and a leg, you would be like, what? I have to fit it into a larger sentence. If I walked up to you and said, this shirt costs an arm and a leg, suddenly things become clear. All right, so this idiom must be used as part of a larger sentence. This idiom cannot be used as a sentence all by itself. Hopefully remember that about this idiom, an arm and a leg. One easy tip is that there's no verb. So if there's no verb, we really can't make it a sentence all by itself. Question number 2. Whoop. Are we ready? Here we go. Question number 2. It's a conversation. Bill, I wasn't surprised that the lobster dinner at the fancy restaurant cost an arm and a leg. Mary, yeah, I had to save my money for 2 months to be able to eat there. So that's the conversation. Here is the question. Which expression below is similar to the green words above? I'm going to give you some choices and I'll give you some time and I'll read each one. And pause if you need more time to make your choice. Here we go. A hairy pickle. B, an insane amount. C, an absolute mess. D, an ocean of sadness. So we have 4 choices. And the question is, which expression below A, B, C, or D is similar to the green words above? So here we go. I'm going to pause for a moment. Pause the video if you need more time. Okay, last chance to pause the video. The answer is coming in 3, 2, 1. Pow! The answer is B, an insane amount. So of the 4 answers, B is the most similar to an arm and a leg. Bill could have said, I wasn't surprised that the lobster dinner at the fancy restaurant cost an insane amount. If we choose the other ones, cost a hairy pickle, cost an absolute mess, cost an ocean of sadness, they just don't work. So the best answer is B. How did you do? Question number 3. Wow. Okay, it's another conversation. Angela, we just got back from France. We thought everything would cost an arm and a leg, but prices were reasonable. Heather, interesting. I just got back from France too. I have no money left at all. For me, everything cost an arm and a leg. So there's the conversation. The question is, which answer below is the opposite of the green words above? So we're looking for opposite this time. The choices are A, a pretty penny. B, a decent amount. C, almost nothing. D, way too much. So which of the 4 choices is the opposite of an arm and a leg? Take a moment and I will do my countdown to the answer. Pause the video if you need more time. And the answer is coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pow! The answer is C, almost nothing. So, we're looking for the opposite, right? We don't want the same, we want something that is the opposite. And Angela and Heather, when they're talking about an arm and a leg, they're referring to something that was kind of expensive. Even though Angela was saying that they weren't an arm and a leg, she's still talking about an arm and a leg as if it means a lot of money. So the answer here is C, almost nothing. Question number 4. An arm and a leg and a picture of a ring. Create a declarative sentence using the idiom and the picture. If you remember, a declarative sentence shares information. So I'm going to pause for a moment. It would be a great time for you to pause the video and write down or create a sentence, and then I'm going to give you what I would create. Okay? So I'm going to pause. And I'm going to start typing in 3, 2, 1. Last chance to pause the video. Here I go. Okay. Hopefully you have your own answer. If I see this ring and I see the idiom, an arm and a leg, I would look at it and say, holy cow, that's a big diamond. I need to make a declarative sentence. I need to share some information about this ring. So I might say, this beautiful diamond ring costs what? That's right, an arm and a leg. And probably a foot and an ear and an eye. This diamond ring is probably very expensive. Okay. So my sentence is, this beautiful diamond ring costs an arm and a leg. So repeat after me. This beautiful diamond ring costs an arm and a leg. All right. If you want, in the comments below, you can share with me what your sentence was and with an arm and a leg. All right. Question number 5. Wonderful. Here we go. Another picture. Ooh, and an arm and a leg. This time, create 2 different kinds of sentences using the idiom and the picture. Ooh. Let's do a quick review. Declarative sentence, share information. Imperative sentence, give a command or make a request. Interrogative sentence, ask a question. Exclamatory sentence, express strong emotion. Okay, so right now would be a great time for you to pause the video and think of a sentence. I guess before you do that, let's talk about the picture. I see pyramids, right? Probably in Egypt, right? And there's a sunset or a sunrise in the background. I haven't been to Egypt, so I'm not sure which direction is east or west if you're looking at the pyramids from this side. But something about the pyramids, we need to make 2 different kinds of sentences using the idiom an arm and a leg. Okay, so go ahead. Pause the video right now, and I'm going to start making my sentences in just a moment. Okay, so I hope you have 2 sentences of your own, and here I go. I think for the first one, I'm going to do a declarative sentence. I'm just going to share information. These are very common types of sentences, right? So, we're going to use the pyramids and the idiom an arm and a leg. What should we do? Okay, let's see. I went to the pyramids and the food cost an arm and a leg. We probably wouldn't be thinking about food when we go to the pyramids, but there's probably snacks and vendors and people selling food on the street and stuff. So maybe it was really expensive. I don't know. I've never been to Egypt, but we're making a sentence. So repeat after me. I went to the pyramids and the food cost an arm and a leg. For the second sentence, I'm going to make an interrogative sentence. Do you remember what interrogative means? Just a fancy word for question. So I'm going to make a question, all right? So the pyramids and the idiom an arm and a leg. Let's see here. I think, okay, why did the bus ticket to the pyramids cost an arm and a leg? So repeat after me. Why did the bus ticket to the pyramids cost an arm and a leg? I think I know the answer, because they know you really want to see the pyramids and you'll be willing to pay a high price for the bus ticket. Okay, so if you want, in the comments below, leave your sentences that you made using the idiom an arm and a leg in this picture. Okay. So we just did review, we did questions, and we created sentences, and it was wonderful. Cha-ching! So today in this lesson, we covered the idiom an arm and a leg. And we learned that an arm and a leg is a lot of money. More money than we want to spend. It's so expensive. It's too much. It's an insane amount. And we did this idiom, in this lesson we did 6 parts. We did a conversation. We did pronunciation. We did the definition, usage, practice, and review. So we did a lot with just one idiom. Hopefully you can see how important it is to learn idioms. This is just one idiom, but it can be used in a lot of situations. So hopefully this lesson was useful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will answer as best I can. All right? So that's it for today. Remember to master your idioms, master your English. If you want to check us out, we're at ableidioms.com. If you enjoyed this material, feel free to like this video and subscribe. All right, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.